Greetings, my friends, and welcome to the weekly tactics video. Today I'm going to tell you why I've finally given up on tanks and big armor that only have a couple of shots and have finally replaced it with a Land Raider Crusader. You're going to be seeing these in my battle reports in the coming Wednesday nights. So let's get into it. Let me talk to you about damage output and all sorts of things. And by the end of it, you can decide if the Land Raider Crusader really is one of the best tanks that we have access to in 10th edition of Warhammer 40,000. Okay, if we're just meeting, I am John, the Blood Angels Commander. Welcome to the channel, and let's talk about the Repulsor Executioner. I've been running for a few weeks now, 220 points. I think the main reason you would run an Executioner is it's T12, it's 16 wounds, and it's Heavy Laser Destroyer, which is Strength 16, -4, D6 plus 4, which is arguably the best or the highest damage weapon that we have for Space Marines, and 72 inches and heavy, so hitting on 2s if you remain stationary. Reality is it's very difficult to keep this thing stationary, so most of the time it's going to be hitting on 3s. However, if you target enemies that are below half strength, then you're back to hitting on 2s. Now, all its other incidental fire, and there is a lot of it. There's a heavy onslaught cannon, there's a defensive array, there's a twin heavy bolter, there's a twin heavy stubber. You can also put on another heavy stubber and rocket pods. Is very incidental. I mean, I've gone into games and shot that entire load at Rhino and done like literally 1 damage. So it is incidental fire. It can hold 6 guys. So it can't really take jump packs or Terminators or Centurions unless you're taking a single character. For the most part, I guess you're putting like 5 Assault Intercessors in here, or maybe some Blade Guard. But I haven't really been putting anything inside the Executioner. I've been taking the Executioner as an anti-tank weapon with what I thought was decent incidental fire. At 220 points, I've been struggling to feel like it's worth it. Even with toughness 12, even with 16 wounds. So let's move on to the Raider Redeemer, which is everybody's favourite go-to thing this edition, and to be honest, something that I've not run up until now. And the reason to run the Land Raider Redeemer is the double Flamestorm Cannon. The Flamestorm Cannon is Strength 6, -2, 2 damage, D6 plus 3. So on average, that's going to get 13 auto hits every time it fires, and also every time it fires Overwatch, which is key. So anytime it fires Overwatch, it's going to get the same average 13 hits. Now, I guess if you combine this with a Thunderstrike, which would give it +1 to wound, or you were in something like the Firestorm Detachment, which would actually give it +1 strength, would make it an assault weapon, and also have stratagems to give it +1 to wound, then you're starting to get interesting. And also I think you can get a stratagem to give it dev wounds as well in the Firestorm Detachment. So, but I think it's good in Gladius, because obviously you can get various powers to boost it in Gladius, such as Advance and Fire from the Devastator Doctrine. Anything inside it is going to be able to declare a charge after it moves, and it's going to carry 14, including Jump Pack, Gravis, Terminators, or Centurions. And 3 Centurions and 3 Blade Guard fit in here quite nicely. You could actually do 5 Terminators and 3 Blade Guard. That would be quite nice. Or you could even do a squad of Gravis Marines, and you could do 3 Blade Guard in there as well. So lots of options. A lot of people have been putting 6 Aggressors plus the Apothecary Biologist inside the Redeemer. That is totally valuable as well. That gives it a lot of threat and a lot of damage output. So lots of things you could put into the Redeemer. Something I hadn't realised is, as well as smoke, the Redeemer can actually throw grenades, believe it or not. So I guess you can do mortal wounds within 8 inches. You're going to want to be close with the Redeemer anyway, right? Because its Flamestorm cannons are only 12 inches. So I guess if you got some CP spare, you can do some mortal wounds as well. It also has a Hunter Killer Missile, a Multi-Melta, and a Storm Bolter, and a Twin Assault Cannon, which I kind of think is kind of rubbish now because it only gets 6 shots, but that's what it has. I don't think there's anything else to say about Redeemer. Let's look at survivability of both these things, because both these things come up quite a bit. And we know the Land Raider is going to be better than the Repulsor because it has a 2-up save versus the 3-up save. And you see that reflected in the numbers against lower AP stuff. It's significant, you know, basically like a 25% increase here in terms of survivability. Against the higher AP stuff, the difference drops down to almost 20%. But then if we start thinking about Armour of Contempt, and we know Armour of Contempt is a great stratagem, but Armour of Contempt is even better on units with good saves, such as the Land Raider Redeemer on a 2-up. Bear in mind these guys could get cover as well, but and it's pretty easy to get cover in 10th edition on vehicles, because you've got those sponson guns, you can hide them behind a bit of a wall or something. If we talk about the Redeemer with Armour of Contempt, then you can see some significant boosts. So Armour of Contempt, like the green numbers are how much value Armour of Contempt gives you against the various AP. Against the high AP, Armour of Contempt will give you 33% increase in survivability. Against medium AP, so against 2 AP, it's 50%. Against 1 AP, it's 100%. And then when you play that compared to the numbers below, you can see the Land Raider Redeemer is quite a bit more survivable. Against 1 AP stuff, it's massive. Against 2 AP stuff, it's like 50%. These numbers have to increase. And then against 3 AP stuff, it's like 33%. So the Redeemer is actually quite a bit better. Just going to be able to save that bit much more. And it is 18% more expensive. So, but I mean, I guess you could go a regular Land Raider, which would only be 20 points more expensive. If you like las cannons, you do get 4 las cannons on the regular Land Raider. So there is arguments to be said. This isn't just the Redeemer. This is also the regular Land Raider. And regular Land Raiders are not bad. 4 las cannons is definitely a good option. You know, if I'm complaining about vehicles with 2 shots, I have found, and I have been running the Ballistus Dreadnought more often than the Gladiator Lancer, right? Because the Lancer gets 2 shots at strength 14. The Ballistus Dreadnought gets 2 shots at strength 12 and 2 shots at strength 10. But I think I prefer the Ballistus Dreadnought. I mean, there's an argument to be said the Ballistus Dreadnought is cheaper, but I also just think 4 shots at potentially like D6 damage is a lot better than 2 shots at D6 plus 3. Yes, sometimes the opponent will fail a lot of those shots, but the problem I find with 2-shot weaponry is sometimes, most of the time, you're shooting at stuff with invulnerable save, so a bunch of the AP is lost. And then if you're shooting at stuff with invulnerable saves, sometimes your opponent just spikes some invulnerable saves and you don't do any damage. So 2-shot weapons are very swingy. And I've got some maths to prove that here in just a minute. But before we go any further, you know the drill. If you like what I do every week on YouTube, it would mean so much to me if you subscribe. And I showed a stat last week that only 5% of you have clicked that bell and turned your notifications on. So out of the 13,000 people that watch the channel, only 600 of you get notified on every new video. If you want to join the 600 that are super awesome, then please click the bell and change your notifications to all. I'd appreciate it. Right. But before we move into the damage, it's no secret that if you've been watching my battle reports, you know that I've been losing faith in these 2 high-power shots. The Lancer, the Executioner, I've not really been enjoying them. I think that they're too swingy. Too many times I'm coming up against opponents with invulnerable saves. I think I made a good example of the Lancer was shooting a Great Unclean One a few weeks back. Turn 1, it shot the Great Unclean One, he rolled 2 4-ups. Alright, I did no damage. Turn 2, I hit both times, I wounded both times. The second time round, he saved both of them again, 4-ups. No damage. The third turn, exactly the same. Again, he saved 2 4-ups. No damage. And if you ask someone to roll 6 4-ups in a row, yeah, you're going to probably see some fails. But if you ask them to roll 2 4-ups, quite a bit apart, right? It just feels like there's much more chance. You know yourself. Sometimes you could just roll 2 4-ups. You know, you could have been rolling hot all night. You can still make those 2 4-up saves. So I'm struggling to justify the Lancer and Executioner, and as such, they're gone for now. They might be back, but if I desperately want las cannons, I think I'm probably going Ballistus Dreadnoughts. They are very cheap. And I think that's probably one of the reasons I like the Vindicator tanks, is because they average like 6.5 shots per turn. So yes, if your opponent makes some invulnerable saves, you're probably still going to get 2 or 3 through. You're probably still going to do a good bit of damage. So many people have told me for weeks now, Redeemer, 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 and I've been avoiding it for its weighty point cost. Its lack of invulnerable save, and also its guns, which I guess up until now haven't excited me, until I saw some maths, which is the very next slide we're going on to, and I hope this surprises you as much as it surprised me. So let's look at the heavy laser on the Executioner, which we can say downright is the best gun Space Marines have in terms of anti-armor, right? It's strength 16, it's -4, it's D6 plus 4. So it's literally the best gun they have. If we're shooting a toughness 10 armature, and arguably that unit is designed to kill that, right? Like the heavy laser destroyer is designed to take out anti-armor. 2 attacks, hitting on 3s, winning on 3s, saving on a 5-up invuln for the armature, D6 plus 4 damage. Statistically, we should only be doing 4.44 damage to an armature. Yes, it could be slightly higher if we get +1 to hit from staying still. But like I said, most of the time, I want to say 4 turns out of 5 in a game, you probably end up moving your Executioner, right? Very rarely does the option present itself to remain stationary. Now, if we look at the Flamestorm Cannons and the Redeemer, this, again, against the Toughness 10 Armature, this is arguably a unit this weapon is designed to do no damage against. Nothing against it. I may actually just realised that, yes, in the last slide, sorry, 4.4 damage. I was right over the top of the numbers. That's not good. Let's go over to the left here for this slide. Next slide, then. 2d6 plus 6 attacks. Statistically, that means 13 attacks. I said that already. We're actually going to do auto hits, so all 13 hits. Wounds on 5s, so 4.33 wounds. Saves on 3+, with a -2. 2 damage a shot. Actually is going to result in 5.76 damage. Now, for 1 CP, we will do that exact same 5.76 damage again in their turn in Overwatch. Now, obviously, there's a huge range disparity here, right? But if we ignore the range disparity, the damage output is insanity. In that I did not expect the Flamestorm Cannons to do this much. It actually made me start thinking, like, is there a crazy list with Battle Predators, Thunderstrikes, which obviously give +1 to wound potentially, Land Raider Redeemers, all in the Firestorm Detachment? Is that a thing? Does anyone run 3 Land Raider Redeemers, 3 Battle Predators, and like maybe 2 Thunderstrikes? Because that sounds like it could be hella fun. But maybe even you could even fill up the Land Raider Redeemers with those new Infernos Marines or Aggressors with Flamers. You could go all in on this. This could be flaming death. But regardless, 5.778 damage. Now, my strategy for my Repulsor or my Land Raider was typically to park it on a midfield objective. If there's a 5 objective map and there's an objective in the center, my Repulsor or my Land Raider is going after that objective, so I have something super durable in the mid-objective, and I score points, and I make it difficult for my opponent. So in this case, if my Land Raider is there anyway, the Land Raider moves 12 compared to the Repulsor's 10, and it can advance and shoot still because of Devastator Doctrine, then arguably, am I not just better having a Land Raider here than I am having the Executioner? And because of the weight of fire, because it's 13 shots, then I feel like there's much more chance of me wounding, there's much less chance of them saving them all. And like I said, there's multiple ways you can make this better. I mean, even in Gladius, you could pay 1 CP to make this AP3. So against armatures, AP3 doesn't help so much, but against other units, it would actually help a lot, right? Yeah, so if you're paying, or if you're talking about damage characteristics and points and stuff like that, the Executioner can stay out of harm's way. We know that. But in both cases, you're paying for transport capacity. The Redeemer being able to carry 14 rather than 6, and allowing disembarking and charging is also quite nice. I found that the +1 to hit on low targets didn't come up that often as well for the Executioner. The Executioner does have some better, I guess you would say better, incidental fire, in that Heavy Onslaught Cannon is basically 2 of these, or it's 12 shots versus 6, no twin linked of course. Hunter Killer Missile is 1 shot, Defensive Array is like a 10 shot bolter, so it's better. I guess the Multi-Melta could possibly be equivalent of like the rocket pods. So there's 6 stubber shots, 3 of which are twin linked, there's 3 heavy bolter shots that are twin linked. Maybe that's good, but most of the time it doesn't do amazing. The second you factor in that you can pay 1 CP in Overwatch and shoot those flamers again, you're going to completely outdamage the Executioner, probably like 30 or 40% over, maybe even higher actually, like maybe like 70% over, because most of this is incidental fire, like I said. And you're not going to probably have the same swing. I mean, you might get a swing on your flamer shots, but even if you roll double 1 on flamers, you're still taking 8 hits. 8 hits is not bad. And you can CP the number of shots, right? So, yeah. So when it looks like on paper, the Executioner is designed to do more damage from shooting, having used it in 3 games now, I'm really struggling to feel good about it. Before I was running the Executioner, I was running a regular Repulsor, which is 30 points less. And like I said, my tactics, take it to center board in games and hold the middle and deliver some units. In my case, it was Blade Guard Veterans and Assault Centurions. And I liked that play a lot, because Blade Guard always score points, they kill infantry, they're durable with their storm shields. Centurions, Assaulted Centurions, also have flamers, kill infantry, bolters, kill infantry, have the only 3 damage combat weapons that we have on like a unit, on an infantry unit, and they're strength 10. So they're a really good strength value. They're also twin linked, those drills on the Centurions, so I thought delivering them to the center of the board was really strong. Seeing the numbers for the Redeemer, my new plan going forward is to bring a Redeemer and get it center board, and that will actually shut down any enemy infantry movement with the Firestorm Cannons. Like, those Firestorm Cannons are going to chew up any 2 wound infantry big time, both in my turn and in theirs because of the Overwatch. And I'm also going to deliver more troops. I'm going to probably go back to putting Blade Guard inside. And I think, because I'm running Dev Centurions at the moment, I'm going to put Jump Intercessors inside. So it's going to get my Jump Intercessors far up the board early. It's going to have them safe. It's going to give them opportunities to get out and do mortal wounds. Tune in to my weekly battle reports on Wednesday night to see this in action. I'm finally running a Redeemer. I know you guys have been going on about it for a while, so here it is. It's finally there. Hopefully it performs well. I don't know if it will, but the math really surprised me. I cannot believe the Flamestorm Cannons will do more to a toughness 10 enemy than the Executioner array. The only caveat, really, is that this is against toughness 10. So if we went against toughness 12, then we have problems with the Flamers because they're only going to wound on 6s. That's when your Firestorm Detachment would come very handy with the +1 strength and the +1 to wound. So with the Firestorm Detachment, you could actually get that toughness 12 back to wounding on 4s. Like I said, maybe I need to run a Firestorm list in the future. I'm surprised we haven't seen any crazy Firestorm lists. But let me know if you're running the Redeemer or the Executioner, how you feel about them down in the comments. I'd love to know. We're expecting a balanced data slate next week. We hope. If we do, I'll try and make a video on that and try and break it all down. And then my plan, just to start off the year, is to drop an 1,000 point list video so that new players can get into the hobby. And there has been a bunch of new players, subscribers in the channel this last couple of months. This has been the best couple of months I've had actually in a while. So loads of new players coming in. I want to make sure that there's a little bit of content for them, and then I'll get back to the nitty gritty of 10th edition. Let's talk about best Redeemer strats though. Obviously in Gladius we have Storm of Fire, which can give us more AP. We can also advance in Devastator Doctrine and shoot. In Firestorm for 2 CP we can get Dev Wounds, and also just by being in Firestorm we're going to get basically advance and shoot. We're going to get Strength 7 on those Flamestorm Cannons, and also they're all going to be given Assault. That's essentially where we're getting the advance and shoot from. In Iron Storm we're going to get 1 CP for the power of the Machine Spirit, and also we can use Overwatch, which basically means if the enemy bring us below half health, we'd be able to shoot. So potentially the Land Raider could shoot 3 times in a turn. You could shoot, you could Overwatch, and then if they bring you below half health, you could shoot again. It's kind of crazy, especially the damage those Flamers could do. And we can also use the Anvil to get reroll wounds, so I guess that would be very good if we needed to reliably wound something high. And in Anvil, again, it's +1 to wound if stationary. I'm not sure. I don't think you'd be able to get all much value out of Anvil, because I don't think you're going to want your Redeemer particularly staying stationary. I had a question about that, and maybe someone in the comments can answer. If you're firing Overwatch, would you count as being stationary? I assume you would, because you haven't moved in your opponent's phase. But maybe that's a question someone can answer. I'm not sure. I haven't run the Anvil Detachment myself. The one that I was originally thinking I was going to run Vanguard next. I think I like Firestorm. I think fire, burn the heretics, burn them down. That was a good song by Linkin Park, wasn't it? Anyway, in conclusion, we've got the vehicle tier list coming up as well. We'll hopefully drop that after the points cost. That's the only tier list left to do for 10th edition. Maybe if there's some big points changes, we can touch on some of the other changes as well in an updated tier list. So we've got that coming in the next few weeks. We've seen a bunch of other channels rate the Land Raider Redeemer as one of the best tools Space Marines have in their arsenal. So I'm going to start using it and see how we get. The maths blew me away after being really disappointed with the Redeemer, the Executioner now. Really disappointed with the Executioner for a little while. I'm going to have to see if the Redeemer can really do this damage. I haven't decided if I'm going to strategic reserve it or just try and fly it up the board, but with a 12-inch move and an advance and fire, potentially, then I think we can go quite aggressive with it. If I had to choose long-range shooting right now, I'd likely take the Ballistus Dreadnought or the Centurion Devastators. And just last week I did a pretty in-depth video on those, which did a lot more math and talked about exactly why I like them. So I'll link that up above. If you haven't seen that video and you're struggling to figure out what your long-range fire support is, then that would be the video to watch. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm mad for trying this, but I do really want to like the Repulsor. A lot of people don't like Repulsors and wrote them off. I really wanted to like it, probably because I bought one. But having played it multiple times now and being close to doing really well with it, but always just teetering away at the end, I don't think it's the right choice for me. Let's see if the Redeemer is, and I've got a Land Raider to go paint. So thank you so much for watching this week. Like the video if you have, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and if you want to support the channel for as little as the price of a cup of coffee every month, you can do that here on YouTube by clicking the join button underneath this video, or over on Patreon. And I do love my members and my patrons so much. Thank you for being here as the channel goes into year 4. It's kind of beyond my wildest expectations. The goal for this year is 15,000 subscribers. Hopefully we can get there. So much more content coming up. I'm also going to run a charity raffle soon, so don't let me forget. Bug me in the chat, ask me about the charity raffle on my next live stream, because it is 100% coming. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all there very soon. By the blood are we made strong, brothers. Peace.